Chapter 2. Dobby's Journey. Harry managed not to shout out, but it was a close thing. Little creature on the bed had large bat-like ear and bulging green eyes the size of tennis ball. Harry knew instantly that this was what been watching him out of the garden hedge that morning. As they stared at each other, Harry heard Dudley's voice from the hall. "May I take your coat, Mr. and Mrs. Manson?" The creature slipped off the bed and bowed so long that the end of its long thin nose touched the carpet. Harry noticed that it was wearing that looked like an old pillowcase with ripped forearm and leg hole. "Hello," said Harry nervously. "Harry Potter," said the creature in a high-pitched voice. He was sure would carry down the stairs. "So long as Dobby wants to meet you, sir." "Such an honor it is." "Thank you," said Harry, edging along the wall and sinking into his desk chair next to Hedwig, who was asleep in her large case. He wanted to ask, "What are you?" but tonight it would sound too rude, so instead he said, "Who are you?" "Dobby, sir." "Just Dobby." "Dobby, the house elf," said the creature. "Oh, really?" said Harry. I don't want to be rude or anything, but this isn't a great time for me to have a house elf in my bedroom." And Putania's high, false laugh sounded from the living room. The elf hung his head. "Not that I am not pleased to meet you," said Harry quickly, "but is there any particular reason you are here?" "Oh, yes, sir," said Dobby tersely. "Dobby has come to sail you, sir." "It is difficult, sir." Dobby wondered where to begin. "Sit down," said Harry politely, pointing at the bed. To this honor, the elf burst into tears. Very noisy tears. "Shut down," he wailed. "Never, never, ever." Harry thought he heard the voice downstairs flattered. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I didn't mean to offend you or anything." "Offend Dobby?" choked the elf. "Dobby has never ever asked to sit down by a wizard like an equal." Harry, trying to say shh and look comforting at the same time, answered Dobby back onto the bed where he sat, his cuddling looking like a large and very ugly doll. At the last he managed to control himself and sat with his great eyes fixing at Harry in an expression of watery adoration. "Can't have met many decayed wizards," said Harry, trying to scare him. Dobby shook his head. Then, without warning, he leaped up and stared, beginning his head furiously on the window, shouting, "Bad, Dobby, bad! Don't! What are you doing?" Harry hissed, standing up and pulling Dobby back into the bed. Hedwig had woken up with a particular loud screech and was beating her wings wildly against the bars of her cage. "Dobby had to punish himself, sir," said Earl, who had gone slightly cross-eyed. "Dobby almost spoke ill of his family, sir." "Your family?" "The wizard family Dobby serves, sir. Dobby is a house elf, bound to serve one house of one family forever." "Do they know you are here?" asked Harry curiously. Dobby shuddered. "Oh no, sir, no. Dobby will have to punish himself most grievously for coming to see you. Sir Dobby will have to shut his ear in the oven door for this." "If they never ever knew, sir." "But won't they notice if you shut your ear in the oven door?" "Dobby doubts it, sir. Dobby is always having to punish himself for something, sir." "Then lets Dobby get on with it, sir. Sometimes they reminds me to do extra punishments." "Why don't you leave? Escape? A house elf must be set free, sir, and the family will never set Dobby free." "Dobby will serve the family until he dies, sir." Harry stared. "And I thought I had it bad staying here for another 4 weeks," he said. "This makes the Dursleys sound almost human. Can't any help you, can't I?" Almost at once, Harry wished he hadn't spoken. Bobby dissolved against into a wall of gratitude. Please, Harry whispered frantically. Please be quiet. If the Dursleys hear anything, if they know you are here, Harry Potter asked if he can help Dobby. Dobby has heard of your greatness, sir, but of your goodness Dobby never knew. Harry, who was feeling distinctly hot in the face, said, whatever you have heard about my greatness is a lot of rubbish. I am not even top of my year at Hogwarts. That's Hermione, she. But he stopped quickly because thinking about Hermione was painful. Harry Potter is humble and modest, said Dobby reverently. His odd like eye aglow. Harry Potter speaks not of his triumph over he who must not be named. Voldemort, said Harry. Dobby clapped his hand over his bad ear and mourned. Speak not the same, sir. Speak not the name. Sorry, said Harry quickly. I know lots of people don't like it, my friend Ron. He stopped again. Thinking about Ron was painful too. Dobby leaned toward Harry, his eyes wide as highlight. Dobby heard tales said hoarsely that Harry Potter met the Dark Lord for a second time just a week ago. That Harry Potter escaped yet again. He nodded and Dobby's eyes suddenly shone with tears. Oh, sir, he gasped, dabbing his face with the corner of grubby pillowcase he was wearing. Harry Potter is violent and bold. He has braved too many dangers already, but Dobby has succumbed to protect Harry Potter, to warn him, even if he does have to shut his ear in the Avondor letter. Harry Potter must not go back to Hogwarts. There was a silence broken only by the clink of knives and fork from downstairs and the distant rumble of Uncle Vernon's voice. What? Harry stammered. But I have got to go back. Term starts on September 1st. It's all that keeping me going. You don't know what it's like here. I don't belong here. I belong in my your ward at Hogwarts. No, 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 squeaked Dobby, shaking his head so hard his ear flapped. Harry Potter must stay where he is safe. He is too good, too great to lose. If Harry Potter goes back to Hogwarts, he will be in mortal danger. Why? Said Harry in surprise. There is a plot. Harry Potter, a plot to make most terrible things happen at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry this year, whispered Dobby, suddenly trembling all over. Dobby has no need for months, sir. Harry Potter must not put himself in peril. He is too important, sir. What terrible things, said Harry at once. Who is plotting them? Dobby made a funny choking noise and then banged his head frantically against the wall. All right, cried Harry, grabbing the girl's arm to stop him. You can't tell me, I understand, but why are you warning me? A sudden unpleasant thought struck him. Hang on, this hasn't got anything to do with with you know what has. You could just shake or nod, he added hastily, and Dobby's head tilted worryingly close to the wall again. Slowly, Dobby shook his head. Not. We know must not be named, sir. But Dobby's eyes were wide and he seemed to be trying to give Harry a hint. Harry, however, was completely lost. He hasn't got a brother, has he? Dobby shook his head, his eyes wider than ever. Well, then I can't think who else would have a chance of making horrible things happen at Hogwarts, said Harry. I mean, there is Dumbledore for one thing. You know who Dumbledore is, don't you? Dobby bowed his head. Albus Dumbledore is the greatest headmaster Hogwarts has ever had. Dobby knows it, sir. Dobby has heard Dumbledore's power rival those of he who must not be named at the height of his strength. But Sir Dobby's voice dropped to an urgent whisper. There are powers Dumbledore doesn't. Powers no decent wizards. And before Harry could stop him, Dobby bounded off the bed, seized Harry's desk lamp, and started beating himself around the lid with splitting yelps. A sudden silence fell down, so 2 seconds later Harry heard nodding madly. Uncle Vernon coming into the hall, calling Dudley. must have left his television on again. The little kite. Quick, in the closet hissed Harry, stuffing Dobby in, shutting the door and flighting himself into the bed just as the door handle turned. "What the devil are you doing?" said Uncle Vernon through gritted teeth, his face horribly close to Harry. "You have just run the punch of line on my Japanese golf joke. One more sound and you'll wish you had never been born, boy." He stormed flat-footed from the room. Shaking, Harry led Dobby out of the closet. "See what it's like here," he said. "See why I have got to go back to Hogwarts. It's the only place I have got. Well, I think I have got friends." "Friends who doesn't even write to Harry Potter," said Dobby slyly. "I accept they have just been. Wait a minute," said Harry, frowning. "How do you know my friends haven't been writing to me?" Dobby shuffled his feet. Harry Potter mustn't be angry with Dobby. Dobby did it for the best. "Have you been stopping my letters?" "Dobby has them, sir, here, sir," said the elf. Stepping nimbly out of Harry's reach, he pulled a thick wad of envelope from the inside of the pillowcase he was wearing. Harry could make out Hermione's neat writing, Ron's untidy scrawl, and even a scrapbook that looked as though it was from the Hogwarts gamekeeper. Hagrid. Dobby blinked anxiously up at Harry. Harry Potter mustn't be angry, Dobby hoped. If Harry Potter thought his friends had forgotten him, Harry Potter might not want to go back to school, sir. Harry wasn't listening. He made a grab for the letter, but Dobby jumped out of reach. "Harry Potter will have them, sir, if he gives Dobby his words." "That he will not return at Hogwarts, sir. This is danger you must not face. Say you won't go back, sir." "No," said Harry angrily. "Give me my friend's letter, then Harry Potter leaves Dobby no choice," said the elf sadly. Before Harry could move, Dobby had darted to the bedroom door, pulled it open, and sprinted down the stairs, mouth dry, stomach lurching. Harry sprang after him, trying not to make a sound. He jumped the last 6 steps, landing cat-like on the hall carpet. Looking around for Dobby, from the dining room he heard Uncle Vernon saying, "Tell Putania that very funny story about those American plumbers. Mr. Mason, she has been dying to hear." Harry ran up the hall into the kitchen and felt his stomach disappear. And Putania's masterpiece of the pudding, the mountain of the cream and sugar wallet, was floating up near the ceiling. On top of the cupboard in the corner crouched Dobby. "No croak, Harry, please. They'll kill me." Harry Potter must say he's not going back to school. "Dobby, please." "Say it, sir. I can't." Dobby gave him a tragic look. "Then Dobby must do it, sir, for Harry Potter's own good." The pudding fell to the floor with heart-stopping crash scream. Splattered with windows and walls, the dish shattered with a crack like a whip. Dobby wished there were screams from the dining room of Uncle Vernon. Burst into the kitchen to find Harry rigid with shock. Covered from head to foot in Aunt Putania's pudding. At first it looked as though Uncle Vernon would manage to glass the whole thing over. Just our nephew very disturbed. Meeting stranger upset him, so we kept him upstairs. He shoved the shocked Manson back into the dining room, promised Harry he wouldn't fly him within an inch of his life when the Manson had left, and handed him a mop. And Putania dug some ice cream out of the freezer, and Harry, still shaking, started scrubbing the kitchen clean. Uncle Vernon might still have been able to make his deal if it hasn't been for the owl. And Putania was just passing around a box of after dinner mint when a huge barn owl swooped through the dining room window, dropped a letter on Mr. Manson's head, and swooped out again. Miss Monsoon screamed like a banshee and ran from the house, shouting loud lunatic. Mr. Manson stayed just long enough to tell the Dursley that his wife was mortally afraid of birds of all shapes and sizes, and to ask whether this was their idea of joke. Harry stood in the kitchen, clenching the mop of support as Uncle Vernon advanced on him. A demonic glint in his tiny eyes read it. He hissed heavily, brandishing the letter of the owl has delivered. Go on, read it. Harry took it. It did not contain birthday greeting. Dear Mr. Potter, we have received intelligence that Howard Sam has used at your place of residence this evening at 12 minutes past 9. As you know, wizards are not permitted to perform spell outside school, and further spell work on your part may lead an explosion from said is for the reasonable restrictions of underage sorcery 1875 paragraph C. We would also ask you to remember that any magic activity that risks notice by member of non-magical community muggles is a serious offense under section 30 of the International Confederation of Warlocks Statute of Secrecy. Enjoy your holiday. Yours sincerely, Muffled Hoptrick. Improper use of magic office, Ministry of Magic. Harry looked up from the letter and gulped. You didn't tell us you weren't allowed to use magic outside school, said Uncle Vernon, a mad glint dancing in his eyes. Forgot to mention it. Slipped your mind, I dread. He was bearing down on Harry like a great bulldog, and all his teeth bared well. I have got news for you, boy. I'm locking you up. You are never going back to that school, never. And if tried magic yourself out, they'll expel you. And laughing like a maniac, he dragged Harry back upstairs. Uncle Vernon was as bad as his word the following morning. That's it for today. Paid two men to fit bars on Harry's window. He himself fitted a cat clap in the bedroom door so that small amount of food could be pushed inside 3 times in a day. They let Harry out to use the bathroom morning and evening, otherwise he was locked in his room around the clock. There 3 days later, the Dursleys were showing no sign of relating, and Harry couldn't see any way out of his situation. He lay on his bed, watching the sun sinking behind the bars of the window and wondering miserable what was going to happen to him. Was the good of magic kicking himself out of the room if Hogwarts would expel him for doing it. Yet life of Private Drive had reached an all-time low. Now that the Dursleys knew they weren't going to wake up as fruit bats. He had lost his only weapon. Dobby might have saved Harry from horrible happening at Hogwarts, but the way things were going, he had probably served the death anyway. The clap flat rattled and Aunt Putania had appeared, pushing the bowl of canned soup into the room. Harry, whose inside were aching with hunger, jumped off his bed and seized it. The soup was stone cold, but he drank half of it in one gulp. Then he crossed the room to Hedwig's cage and trickled the soggy vegetable at the bottom of the bowl into her empty food tray. She ruffled her feather and gave him a look of deep disgust. It's no good turning you big up at it. That's all we have got, said Harry grimly. He put the empty bowl back on the floor next to the cat clap and lay back down on the bed, somehow even hungrier than he had been before the soup. Supposing he was still alive in another 4 weeks, what would happen if he didn't turn up at Hogwarts? Would someone be sent to see why he hadn't come back? Would they be able to make Dursley's let him go? The room was growing dark, exhausted, stomach troubling, mind spinning over the same unanswerable questions. Harry fell into an uneasy sleep. He dreamed that he was on show in the zoo with a card reading unread wizard attached to his cage. People goggled through the bars at him as the light. Staring and weak on the bed of stew, he saw Dobby's face in the crowd and shouted out, asking for help, but Dobby called Harry Potter is safe here, sir, and vanished. Then the Dursley appeared and Dudley rattled the bar of the cage, laughing at him. Stop it, Harry muttered as the rattling pound in the sore head. Leave me alone. Cut it out. I'm trying to sleep. He opened his eyes. Moonlight was shining through the bars of the window, and someone was goggling through the bars at him. Freckled face, red haired, long nose, someone. Ron Weasley was outside the window. That's it for today. Thank you so much. Stay tuned for next chapter. See ya. Bye bye.